When a WWE contracted performer who seems to have a glittering career in front of them is released, the first question on many people's lips is why? Well, on some occasions, the answer is staring the sports entertainer right back in the face when they look in the mirror. Because while lack of creative ideas, budget cuts, and all manner of other excuses can often be given, the reason can occasionally be boiled down to me. No, not me. I mean you. Wait, what I actually mean is them, I think? I'll just watch the video. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 promising WWE prospects who cause their own downfalls. Join us. Number 10, Joshua Bredel. It had its critics, sure, but WWE's win-a-contract reality show Tough Enough did occasionally make for great TV and help get the likes of The Miz, John Morrison, and Maven through the door. Not everyone who made the final cut or even won the competition enjoyed success, however. Just ask Joshua Bredel, the Season 6 winner who was duly rechristened Bronson Matthews and shipped off to NXT. After only a few months of being stationed in Orlando, Florida, Bredel, who at 6'7", almost 300 pounds and with a big head of hair seemed to check a lot of WWE's boxes, raised the ire of the locker room with a single ill-conceived tweet. While watching Raw, Bredel used the hashtag #SocialJobbers to describe the new social outcast stable. Though he later protested that he did so in heel character, the likes of Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes did not take kindly to the perceived sight. Bredel had to go to so-called wrestler's court and was temporarily kicked out of the NXT locker room over the incident. From that point on, his release, which came on November 5th, 2017, was inevitable. Number 9, Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Bit of a twofer here, as the collective fate of the fast-talking catchphrase machines Enzo and Cass was sealed by their own lamentable actions. After setting NXT on fire, the realest guys in the room were called up to the main roster and likewise got over with the wider WWE audience. After a little over a year on main, WWE Creative made the questionable decision to break them up, with Cass turning heel on his partner. Enzo would find some joy in the rebooted Cruiserweight division, but was let go while in his second reign as Cruiserweight champion after the company found out he was under investigation for some very serious allegations he hadn't told them about. Prior to his release, it was said that Enzo had so much backstage heat that Roman Reigns allegedly refused to let him dress in the locker room with the rest of the boys. As for Cass, he lasted another 6 months, but was also canned after going against instructions during an in-ring segment on SmackDown, as well as being publicly intoxicated and demonstrating unprofessional behavior during a European tour. Number 8, Teddy Hart. Teddy Hart was every bit as talented as he was self-destructive, a career-long narrative which began in WWE. After a standout performance in Dory Funk Jr.'s training camp in 1998, Hart became the youngest person ever signed to a WWE developmental deal. With natural athleticism and a unique charisma, hopes were high that Stu Hart's grandson would help carry on the Hart family legacy moving forward. However, Teddy's contract was quickly terminated after he was deemed a liability. Supposedly always stoned, Teddy continually slept in and was late to practice, something Dory Jr. certainly wasn't going to tolerate. There were also rumors of an incident at a hotel WWE used in Stamford, Connecticut, contributing to Hart's abrupt departure. Because he had talent, he was brought back, but his attitude hadn't changed and he was deemed too immature to risk sending out on the road and once again let go. After an inconsistent and often controversial handful of years working on the indies, Hart was invited back in 2007 to be part of a rebooted Hart Foundation with TJ Wilson, Harry Smith, and Natalya Neidhart. The third time was not the charm, and his poor attitude led to him being fired once more. Number 7, Brad Maddox. Joshua Klutz was in the WWE developmental system for 2 years and was one of the final holders of the FCW tag team titles before being promoted to the main roster in August of 2012. Not as a wrestler, mind, but as a regular referee. Well, he was a regular referee for about a month before he was thrown right in the middle of a major storyline by costing Ryback his undefeated streak while helping CM Punk retain his WWE title at Hell in a Cell. From there, Brad Maddox became the Raw Raw general manager, a high-profile gig that gave him plenty of exposure. After that had run its course, Maddox played the waiting game, working house shows and dark matches, while WWE figured out what to do with him. One thing they didn't want him to do, it turns out, was slag off the crowd in Indianapolis after his non-televised bout prior to the November 24, 2015 SmackDown taping. Calling punters cocky pricks was a step too far for Vince McMahon, who let Brad go immediately. He has since disappeared from the business entirely. Has anyone looked in a cave? Number 6. Mordecai. Kevin Fertig toiled in developmental for a few years as Seven and was, at various points, set to be brought up as part of a monstrous tag team with Feeder Farm partner Tyson Tomko. However, plans changed, pal, and Fertig instead was given a complete gimmick overhaul. The new character was Mordecai, an all-white religious zealot who was coming to rid the SmackDown brand of sin. An impossible task, I think you'll find. The Pale Rider came in with a lot of hype, getting the vignette treatment at a couple of wins on back-to-back pay-per-views before he suddenly did a job to Rey Mysterio and was sent back to OVW. According to Fertig, he was being primed for programs with The Undertaker and Eddie Guerrero when he got into a bar fight and those plans were hastily cancelled. With a potential lawsuit lingering over his head as a result of the fight, Fertig was released. Though he was brought back a couple of years later as vampiric ECW new breeder Kevin Thorne, he was never earmarked for any main event feuds or matches and had to instead lament what could have been. Number 5. Velveteen Dream. Despite being one of the favourites to win the competition, Patrick Clark was actually eliminated from the 2015 season of WWE Tough Enough early on, with the judges citing a perceived lack of humility on his part. WWE snapped him up and sent him over to NXT regardless, and Clark re-emerged in 2017 as Velveteen Dream, a character heavily inspired by the late music icon Prince. With his eye-catching gimmick and look, overflowing charisma, and penchant for producing in big matches, the NXT North American champion quickly became somebody that fans and those within the industry predicted big things for. The only thing stopping Patrick Clark from getting to the top was himself, though. As well as a habit of garnering heat backstage with wrestlers and management, Dream's House of Cards began to tumble in April of 2020 when he was accused of communicating inappropriately with underage fans on social media. The allegations persisted in the months that followed, though WWE reportedly investigated the claims and found no wrongdoing on his part. Still, Clark was released in May of 2021, with reports indicating that him consistently rubbing people the wrong way, not like that, were a major factor in WWE's decision. Number 4. Jackson Riker. Alright, it might be a bit of a stretch to call Jackson Riker a promising prospect, since the man formerly known as TNA's Gunner had been wrestling for about 15 years before WWE signed him in May of 2017. But Vince McMahon was clearly a fan of the ex-US Marine, who made his main roster debut on SmackDown in April of 2020 alongside Forgotten Sons stablemate Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake. Portrayed as an American patriot on screen, Riker off-screen was unafraid to post his true feelings about the Black Lives Matter movement and then-President Donald Trump. WWE stars like Ricochet and Kevin Owens were quick to criticize, while Cutler and Blake made the decision to publicly distance themselves from their teammates' comments. Riker's post may have upset a portion of the WWE locker room, but WWE felt like they couldn't fire him for exercising his freedom of speech. Nevertheless, the Forgotten Sons were quietly disbanded, and Riker re-emerged many months later, having been shifted to Raw. He didn't last too long, teaming and then feuding with Elias, then becoming a main event mainstay before being released amid reports his peers still hadn't forgiven him. Number 3. Evan Bourne. High-flying independent standout Matt Sydal signed a WWE developmental deal in 2007 after impressing for Ring of Honor, Wrestling Society X, and other groups. Many presumed he would have a low ceiling in the E given his smaller stature and indie style, but after gaining fans on ECW, the man now known as Evan Bourne made his way to Raw and became something of a cult favorite. He eventually settled into the Air Boom tag team with Kofi Kingston, the popular duo winning the World Tag Team titles. Unfortunately, that reign was marred by Sydal getting a 30-day suspension for violating the company's wellness policy, though WWE did show faith in him by keeping the belts on the team. A little over a month after returning, however, he once again pissed hot, reportedly for a type of synthetic marijuana, meaning Air Boom had to drop the titles before he sat out for 60 days. Adding injury to insult, Bourne went and shattered his foot in a motorcycle crash while serving his second suspension. WWE continued to pay him while he convalesced, but decided to cut their losses and wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors without bringing him back to TV. Number 2, Nash Carter. After impressing for Impact, the Rascals tag team was signed by WWE in December of 2020. Zachary Wentz and Desmond Xavier became Nash Carter and Wes Lee, aka MSK, and quickly set about establishing themselves as one of the top teams on the so-called third brand. They won the 2021 Dusty Rhodes Classic tournament before going on to bag the vacant NXT tag team titles. Their first reign lasted a not inconsiderable 201 days, and they were just days into their second reign as champs when Carter was released. He was dismissed after his ex-wife and fellow professional wrestler Kimber Lee publicly accused him of sustained domestic abuse during the course of their relationship. Shortly after, a picture of Carter sporting a moustache and giving a salute was shared online. Now, I don't know if you guys are history buffs or not, but that sure looks an awful lot like a certain leader of the Third Reich to me. The Rascals appear to be getting back together now, but with 2 of the 3 members currently signed to TNA, it may always be a question of what if as far as what the trio can accomplish together in the WWE system goes. Only time will tell. Number 1, Lars Sullivan. Looking as he did like an absolute monster, it was no major surprise to see Lars Sullivan receive a monster push upon his promotion from NXT to the main roster. An initial debut and rumored match with John Cena didn't materialize because Sullivan suffered an anxiety attack and walked out of his scheduled Raw debut, but he returned several months later and began wrecking people left, right, and center. Shortly into his main roster run, however, it came to light that Lars had years earlier posted racist, homophobic, sexist, and all manner of otherwise derogatory posts via various accounts on a bodybuilding forum, some of which were directed toward WWE employees. He apologized, but was ordered to undergo sensitivity training and fined $100,000. Still, McMahon wasn't about to give up on the Freak, who was brought back to television after recovering from a major knee injury. However, persistent anxiety issues ultimately led to his release.